Jonathan Lee Riches Investigates. I am covering the Moscow, Idaho Bryan Kohberger case. Could Bryan Kohberger get his charges reduced? Reduce his charges. I ask that because it is quite possible that his 4 counts of first-degree murder and his burglary count get reduced down by prosecutor Bill Thompson. I say this because there is a case out of Latah County years ago that Bill Thompson prosecuted. It was 2 Vandals football players from the University of Idaho. It was way back in 2004. 2 football players for the University of Idaho, the Wells brothers. They shot and murdered another 19-year-old person with 2 different weapons in his apartment in Moscow. And these brothers, who are from Seattle, were charged with first-degree murder. Obviously, first-degree murder, life in prison. But Bill Thompson, the prosecutor, the same prosecutor who is now prosecuting Bryan Kohberger, he reduced their charges. I'm going to show you their case. Check this out.
So this is an article from 2005. Seattle brothers sentenced to 20 years in football player's death. 2 Seattle brothers were sentenced Friday to 20 years in prison for the fatal shooting of a University of Idaho football player last year. This is out of Moscow, Idaho. 2 Seattle brothers were sentenced Friday to 20 years in prison for the fatal shooting of a University of Idaho football player last year. James Wells and Matthew Wells pleaded guilty in September to second-degree murder in the killing of 19-year-old Eric McMillan. McMillan was shot twice with 2 different weapons at his off-campus apartment in Moscow. Second District Judge John Bradbury imposed the sentence. The brothers won't be eligible for parole for at least 8 years. Prosecutors asked for a 30-year sentence while defense lawyers sought 12-year terms. The Wells brothers cried and expressed remorse during sentencing, saying McMillan did nothing to deserve being killed. Latah County prosecutor Bill Thompson said. The brothers originally were charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy in the September 19, 2004 death of McMillan, a Vandals cornerback from California near San Diego. McMillan, shot once in the chest and once behind the ear, apparently was chosen at random because he was a football player the Wells believed had been involved in a nightclub altercation with their younger brother and cousin. This case is so incomprehensible, Thompson said. We cannot make sense of why such a tragedy happened. Thompson agreed to reduce the first-degree murder charge and drop a conspiracy count in exchange for guilty pleas to second-degree murder. Several other Wells family members, including their father, Matthew Wells, and brother Emmanuel Wells and Aaron Wells, faced perjury charges stemming from the investigation, Thompson said. Trial dates have not been set. So Thompson, the Latah County prosecutor, reduced these guys, these 2 football players, charges from first degree, which looks like it was clearly first degree murder, down to second degree murder. And instead of these guys getting life, they got 20 years. He reduced the charges. Could that happen in the Bryan Kohberger case? Kohberger's charges being reduced. Let me know what you think.
He reduced their charges to second-degree murder. And the brothers ended up only getting 20 years. 20 years. This is a very and he also said that was a very horrific case. What I just read to you, more or less. Bad case. The Bryan Kohberger case is the worst of the worst. But who knows? Who knows what this prosecutor could do? He could say with Bryan Kohberger's case, I'll reduce all 4 of your first-degree murder charges down to second-degree murder charges. Who knows? Bryan Kohberger could get a number. 20 years, 20 years, 20 years, 20 years, and 5 years for the burglary, 85 years, but he would get a number. And sometimes prosecutors do that. Remember, people, in the court of law, most cases are resolved via plea bargain. Most cases, felony cases in this country, are plea bargains, and sometimes prosecutors reduce people's charges. Charge them with the most extreme, and then the negotiation happens. Will that happen in the Bryan Kohberger case? Possibly. Most likely not. But this prosecutor, Bill Thompson, has done it before on a bad case in Latah County. I am looking at other cases and comparisons with this prosecutor, of him prosecuting other bad cases in the county. He's been a prosecutor since 1992. What will he do with the Bryan Kohberger case? He still has 53 days left in that range, up to July 22nd, to decide if he's going to seek the DP against Bryan Kohberger. Will he do that? If he doesn't seek the DP against Bryan Kohberger, maybe he would do a plea bargain with him for reduced charges. If he does seek the DP against Bryan Kohberger, I'm not so sure if those charges would be reduced with the DP off. Maybe first degree MURDER with the DP off, but would it go down to second degree or third degree or manslaughter? Who knows? Who knows? Ann Taylor putting up a challenge. Subscribe to my channel, hit the notification button. Discussing different scenarios with this case. What do you think? I'll read your comments. We will talk soon. Justice for the victims. Everyone be safe. God bless.